The Grey Wardens were not always the noble heroes revered by kings and queens. Their story begins thousands of years ago, in an age now almost forgotten. It was a time of ruin, a time of despair, when the world stood on the edge of extinction during the first Blight. These magisters became the first of the Darkspawn, grotesque, mindless creatures driven by an insatiable hunger for destruction. From them, the Blight spread like a plague, corrupting everything in its path. The land itself sickened, and animals twisted into monstrous forms. But the Darkspawn were only the beginning. For deep beneath the earth, in the forgotten prisons of ancient gods, something stirred, awakened by the Blight's corruption. The old gods, once revered by the people of Tevinter as divine dragons, lay in their eternal slumber beneath the earth. But now they were tainted. Corrupted by the Blight, the first of these gods, Duma, rose from the depths as an archdemon, an ancient being of unspeakable power and malevolence. With the archdemon leading them, the Darkspawn erupted from the deep roads, swarming over the surface of Thedas, leaving only death and ruin in their wake. The first Blight had begun. The kingdoms of men, elves and dwarves all fought valiantly against the Darkspawn, but their efforts were in vain. The Darkspawn were countless, and they poured out of the earth like an unstoppable tide. The great dwarven thags fell, one after another, their halls consumed by the darkness that lurked below. The elves, already diminished and scattered, retreated into their forests, but even there they found no sanctuary. And the humans, for all their power, could not stand united. The kingdoms of Thedas were fractured, and no army could stand against the might of the Archdemon. For nearly a century, the Darkspawn ravaged the land, and despair settled over Thedas like a shroud. It seemed as though the Blight would consume the world. But in the darkest of times, when all hope seemed lost, a new order arose, born from desperation, forged in sacrifice. In the harsh, barren lands of the Anderfels, a group of warriors and mages gathered together. These were not kings or great generals, but ordinary men and women who had lost everything to the Blight. They knew that conventional weapons and armies could not stop the Darkspawn. The taint was something beyond mere swords and shields, something that required a different kind of sacrifice. They turned to a desperate and dangerous plan. To understand the Blight, they would have to embrace it. In a ritual that would come to be known as the Joining, these warriors drank the blood of the Darkspawn. The taint coursed through their veins, threatening to destroy them from within. Many died in agony, their bodies rejecting the corruption. But some survived. Those who did found themselves changed, no longer fully human, but not yet consumed by the Blight. They could now sense the Darkspawn, feel their presence, and track them through the chaos. And more than that, they gained the ability to fight the Archdemon itself. These survivors became the first Grey Wardens. The Grey Wardens, bound by the taint but not controlled by it, stood as a new hope for Thedas. They were not bound by kings or nations. They swore only to fight the Blight, to protect the world from its corruption, no matter the cost. Their leaders, the first Warden commanders, gathered allies from every corner of Thedas. The Wardens united the warring factions of men, elves and dwarves. Under their banner, soldiers who once fought one another stood together against the true enemy. But even with their new strength, the battle against the Archdemon Duma and the Darkspawn horde would not be an easy one. The Wardens led their armies into countless battles, each one bloodier than the last. They were outnumbered, and every victory came at a terrible price. But the Grey Wardens pressed on, for they knew the Blight would destroy all of Thedas if they faltered. In the final decisive battle of the first Blight, the Grey Wardens faced the Archdemon Dumat on the battlefield. The skies blackened, and the ground trembled as the great dragon descended upon them, its roar shaking the very foundations of the earth. The Wardens fought with everything they had, knowing that to defeat the Archdemon was to end the Blight. But slaying an Archdemon is no simple feat. No ordinary weapon could destroy such a creature, for the essence of the Archdemon would transfer into the nearest Darkspawn, allowing it to rise again. Only a Grey Warden, whose blood was already tainted by the Blight, could deliver the final blow and truly destroy the Archdemon. And so, in that final moment, one of the Wardens struck Dumat down, ending the Archdemon's reign of terror. The Darkspawn, now leaderless, fled back into the deep roads, and the first Blight was over. But for the Grey Wardens, this victory was bittersweet. Though they had saved Thedas, they knew that the Darkspawn would return. The Blight was not truly vanquished, merely dormant, and so the Grey Wardens swore an eternal oath. They would stand ever vigilant, ready to fight the Blight again whenever it returned. They would live with the knowledge that the taint would eventually claim them, but they would face their deaths with honor, knowing they had done their duty. And so, the legend of the Grey Wardens was born, a legacy of sacrifice, of unyielding resolve, and of a solemn, unbreakable vow to stand against the Blight, no matter the cost. For the next Blight will come, and when it does, the Grey Wardens will be ready. The Grey Wardens are more than just warriors. They are the last line of defense against the darkness that lurks beneath the world. For centuries, the Wardens have lived by their creed, standing ever vigilant, prepared to face the Blight whenever it arises. But to understand their mission, one must first understand the true nature of the enemy they face, the Blight itself. The Blight is not merely a plague of monsters. It is a corruption, an ancient disease that seeps into the very essence of life, twisting it into something foul and unnatural. The source of this corruption lies in the Darkspawn, creatures born from the sin of the Tevinter Magisters long ago. Wherever the Darkspawn tread, the Blight follows. Their blood is tainted, and it poisons the land, turning fertile fields into barren wastelands, and creatures into twisted abominations. The Darkspawn themselves are not mindless beasts, but creatures of darkness, driven by an insatiable desire to destroy and corrupt all life. They dwell in the deep roads, far beneath the surface, in the once great halls of the Dwarven Empire. But the Darkspawn are not content to remain hidden in the shadows. From time to time, they emerge, seeking something far greater than the destruction of the surface world. The Darkspawn are driven by the call of the old gods, ancient dragon-like beings, long thought dead, but in truth merely sleeping beneath the earth. The Darkspawn are drawn to these old gods, seeking them out like moths to flame. When they find one, they corrupt it with their taint, transforming it into an archdemon. And when an archdemon rises, so too does a Blight. This is the nature of the Blight, an endless cycle of death and rebirth, a war that will never truly end as long as the Darkspawn exist. The Grey Wardens are the only ones who can truly stand against the Blight, for they are bound to it in ways that others are not. To become a Grey Warden is to undergo the joining, a ritual that fuses a warrior's fate with that of the Blight itself. It is a dangerous and deadly process, one that many do not survive. Those who do are forever changed. The joining begins with the consumption of Darkspawn blood, a substance so toxic that it would kill any ordinary person. Only those with great strength, both of body and spirit, can survive the taint. But survival comes at a cost. Those who live through the joining carry the taint within them for the rest of their lives. The blood of the Darkspawn courses through their veins, giving them the ability to sense the presence of the Darkspawn, even at great distances. They feel the call of the Archdemon, and in battle, they can resist the corruption that would overwhelm others. But this power comes with a price. The taint slowly consumes the Warden, gnawing away at their body and mind. They know that one day the Blight will claim them. And when that day comes, they will be forced to leave their comrades behind, to seek a final death deep in the deep roads, where they can fight the Darkspawn until their last breath. The Grey Wardens are not bound by any king or nation. They serve no master but their cause. In times of peace they are often forgotten, their numbers dwindling as the years pass between blights. But when the Blight returns, the Wardens stand as the only true defense against the darkness. They recruit from all races, human, elf, dwarf, and even mage. For in the battle against the Blight, all are equal. It is this unity that makes the Grey Wardens unique. They do not fight for political power or personal glory. They fight to protect all of Thedas, regardless of race or creed. The Wardens are few in number, but their strength lies in their ability to bring together people from all walks of life, uniting them in a common cause. The Grey Wardens are often seen as outsiders, their methods harsh and their presence unsettling. Many fear them, for they carry the taint of the Blight within them, and they operate outside the laws of any kingdom. But when the Blight comes, the Wardens are always the first to respond, rallying the nations of Thedas against the Darkspawn. While anyone can fight the Darkspawn, only a Grey Warden can slay an Archdemon. This is the core of the Warden's purpose, to face the greatest threat that the Blight brings, the Archdemon itself. The Archdemon is no ordinary foe. It is a creature of unimaginable power, born from an old god and corrupted by the Blight. Its very presence is a beacon to the Darkspawn, who follow it without question, as if driven by an ancient primal instinct. But to kill an Archdemon is not merely a matter of striking it down in battle. When an Archdemon dies, its soul, the essence of the Blight within it, seeks a new host. If it finds another Darkspawn, it will be reborn, and the cycle of the Blight will continue. Only a Grey Warden, whose blood is already tainted by the Blight, can trap the Archdemon's soul within themselves. When a Warden kills an Archdemon, both die, their souls intertwined in the final moment. This is the ultimate sacrifice of the Grey Wardens. They know that, should they face an Archdemon, they will not live to see the victory they have won. But it is a sacrifice they are willing to make for the sake of Thedas. The Grey Wardens are not bound by time. They exist as legends, as heroes, and in some cases, as outcasts. Their legacy stretches across the centuries, from the first Blight to the present day. But this legacy is not without its share of tragedy and controversy. The Wardens have been both revered and feared, their actions shaping the course of history in ways both seen and unseen. The first Blight was an age of unparalleled suffering. The Darkspawn, newly unleashed from the depths of the earth, swarmed across Thedas in numbers the world had never seen. They poisoned the land, their blight turning fertile plains to deserts, cities to ruins, and forests into deadwood. No kingdom could stand against them, for the Darkspawn came not only with weapons of iron and claw, but with a disease that warped everything in its path. In these dark days, it seemed as if Thedas would fall, devoured by the plague of the Darkspawn, and the Archdemon Duma, a corrupted old god, led their endless hordes. It was during this time, when all hope seemed lost, that the Grey Wardens were born. No one knows the true origins of their creation, but the legends say they were warriors who united humanity, elves, dwarves, and mages against the Blight, offering a sliver of hope to a world on the brink. Bound by a dangerous ritual, they became more than men and women. They became the last defense against the endless tide of corruption. Dumat, the Archdemon of the Primer Blight, was a creature of terrifying power. A god in life and a nightmare in death, his twisted form brought ruin to Thedas. Kingdoms fell, and armies were slaughtered at his command. But the Grey Wardens stood firm, and after nearly a century of ceaseless war, they faced the Archdemon in a final, desperate battle. The Warden commander of that time, whose name is lost to history, is said to have sacrificed their life to land the killing blow, ending Duma's reign of terror and sealing the first great victory against the Blight. Though this victory cost countless lives, the Wardens were hailed as the saviors of Thedas. Their legend was born in the flames of the Primer Blight, and they would carry this mantle through every age to come. The death of Duma did not bring peace to Thedas. The Darkspawn, though driven back, still lingered in the deep roads, gnawing at the bones of the earth. And after centuries of relative peace, the Blight returned. The second, third, and fourth Blights came in waves, each led by a new Archdemon, Zazical, Toth, and Andorol. These Blights were no less deadly than the first, though the lessons learned from the past helped Thedas resist with greater unity and strategy. In these later Blights, the Grey Wardens stood once more at the forefront, as they always do. In the second Blight, it was the Warden commander of Weishaupt, whose bold tactics brought about the fall of the Archdemon Zazical. This Blight ravaged the north, decimating entire nations before the Warden armies, alongside the dwarven forces of Kal Sharok, dealt the killing blow. The sacrifice of these Wardens echoed throughout history. The third Blight, centered around the Anderfels and Tevinter, saw the fall of mighty cities and the corruption of lands long held by humans and elves alike. Yet again, the Grey Wardens rose to the challenge, and the Archdemon Toth was defeated on the battlefields of Hunter Fell. The Grey Wardens, now scattered across Thedas, had grown into a vast order, commanding respect, even from the greatest of kings and magisters. The fourth Blight was perhaps the shortest, but no less catastrophic. The Archdemon Andorral led a destructive campaign across the Free Marches and Orlais, bringing both regions to their knees. In the Great Battle of Aisley, it was a group of Grey Wardens, their backs to the wall, who held the line and slayed the Archdemon, though none survived to tell the tale. The Blight was stopped, but at great cost. In each of these Blights, the Grey Wardens did not falter. They sacrificed their lives, their futures, and their sanity, all to protect a world that might never fully understand the burden they carry. For it is not only the Darkspawn that they must fight, but the ignorance and fear of the people they strive to save. Though the Grey Wardens are hailed as heroes when the Blight rises, their existence is far less welcome in times of peace. When the Darkspawn retreat to the deep roads, the Wardens are often seen as an uncomfortable reminder of the horrors of the Blight. Their presence unsettles rulers, and their independence threatens political stability. They are warriors without a war, protectors of a threat that seems distant and forgotten. During these periods of silence, the Wardens find themselves cast into obscurity, exiled from courts, and dismissed by those who seek to rebuild in the aftermath of the Blight's destruction. Their right of conscription, a power that allows them to recruit anyone, regardless of status or loyalty, becomes a source of tension. In Orlais, the nobility grew weary of the Warden's influence, and in Ferelden, they were outright banished for over 2 centuries. But the Grey Wardens are more than warriors. They are keepers of knowledge, and in the long years between Blights, they continue their work in the shadows, tracking Darkspawn activity, patrolling the deep roads, and ensuring that the world remains vigilant. Even in exile, their watch never ends, for the Grey Wardens know what others do not. The Blight never truly sleeps. These years of silence are often the most dangerous for the Wardens. Without the imminent threat of a Blight, their resources dwindle and their numbers fade. Many kingdoms no longer see the need to support the Wardens, and their independence isolates them from allies they once had. Yet, despite this, the Wardens endure, knowing that the Darkspawn will rise again, and when they do, the Wardens will be ready. Thank you for venturing into the heart of this tale. If you wish to hear more stories, where legends walk and secrets of the Veil are whispered, be sure to like and subscribe. For there are many more journeys ahead, and countless tales yet untold. Until our paths cross again, may your blade stay sharp, and may the light of Andraste guide you through the darkness.